Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Diverse Thinking, Different Learning. I am so glad that you are joining me today. If you listened to last week's episode, you probably heard Cody Harms say that we have to listen to the people that we serve. That resonates with me, aligns with the work we do at Child Nexus, and really speaks to today's episode. Today, Barry and Jake Freeman are joining me, and they will be sharing their unique perspectives on navigating the autism journey together. I hope that this conversation will help families who are doing the same. Please join me in welcoming Jake and Barry to the podcast.
Millions of kids struggle with learning, processing, and social emotional difficulties. These challenges interfere with their ability to reach their full potential. Dr. Karen Wilson is here to help. Her extensive background in pediatric neuropsychology and higher education have prepared her for this unique mission. Listen as she delivers content to inform, educate, and empower parents and educators. This will enable you to identify challenges that kids face and get them on the road to achieving their full potential. This is Diverse Thinking, Different Learning by Child Nexus.
Jake and Barry, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. We're happy to be here, Karen.
I am so glad that you are here. We were introduced by a colleague of mine, and after we talked, you both expressed an interest in sharing your stories, and I'm so excited to have you both here to speak with you, to talk about your experiences, because so many of our listeners say they learn so much from hearing from other people who've gone through similar challenges, similar experiences. And I just feel like that is just such a great way for people to learn and to better understand, different ways of seeing the world.
Definitely, Karen. I guess when we were speaking last time, Karen, I thought that if I knew a few things 28 years ago when Jake was diagnosed from parents, I think I and our family might have made some different choices. So I think it's always, as you said, it's always helpful to hear from people going through the experiences.
Absolutely. And maybe that's where we can start, Barry. Maybe you can start by sharing some background about your family's journey, and we'll go there, and then we'll talk to Jake about, his experiences. That would be a great place to start.
That sounds great. So my wife and I grew up in Massachusetts, and we came out to California when Jake was 2 years old. Jake had just recently been diagnosed on the spectrum. And coming to California was a blessing for us because the services in California are quite good compared to the rest of the country. So we started with the journey about 28 years ago. Jake had some delays in his walking and his speech. He certainly caught up in his walking and running, and in his speech, he's very conversational now. He's been phenomenal, come a long way, but it has been a journey, and we've been lucky enough, I said, to be in Southern California where there are quite a few services. So that's kind of the nutshell right there.
Right. And Jake, you talked about your transition from your local school to Village Glen.
Yes.
What are some of the things you noticed when you made that switch?
A lot better friends, teachers that understand me, and just people that I relate to more.
And that's such an important thing that I hear from many students, is that you want to go to a school where individuals understand you, understand the way you think, the way you learn, and you want to be able to connect with your peers as well.
That's true. I did all that. So
wonderful. And Barry, I know that you took an active role, you and your wife, on advocating for Jake. What do you think are some of the most important lessons that you learned along the way as you navigate school systems? Because you moved from Massachusetts to California, and then Jake, you talked about switching schools. What was that like for you in advocating, Barry?
I think Jake might have been a little bit of a different animal than a lot of other people going through the process, because Jake appears maybe more intact when you speak with him. He's extremely conversational. He makes great eye contact now, which is something he's worked on over the years and done really well with. But he seems a little bit more intact and has more challenges than meets the eye. So for us, and there may be other parents out there going through the same thing, what we've learned is you have to fight for these IEPs. You really have to go hard and and push and be aggressive. And one of the things you need to do is be very detailed in your documentation. So one of the things we learned is whether it's taking notes of a conversation or taking a video of something that happened so you have proof to go for services or pictures, whatever it is, it's vitally important going through the process to document everything. I think that's probably the number one. And the number two is don't just teach your child, learn from them. I think we've learned an awful lot from Jake, including empathy and good sportsmanship. Good sportsmanship, something that Jake's sister and I have learned a lot from Jake. I wish we took more of the lessons from him, but Jake was in a Special Olympics basketball tournament, and he had a great game, but he missed a shot near the end that would have won it for his team. And I'm getting ready to console him, and he comes running to me. He says, "Dad, wasn't that fun?" I mean, that's Jake in a nutshell. Whereas maybe half of our family might have looked at the negative of it. Jake is such a positive person and has a great outlook.
Right. And that just speaks to the idea that we have so much that we can learn from each other, right? We all have contributions and gifts that we bring to the table and lessons that we can learn from one another. Jake, you participated, your dad was saying, in Special Olympics. You've had various internship experiences. Is there any advice that you would give to other autistic young people on trying new things and putting themselves out there?
That's a great question. Just go for it. If you have fun, have fun. If you don't like it, try it out. You might like it in the long run. Like, I didn't like basketball first. I played for a long time, but I liked it ever since, and I've fallen in love with playing it. So, and I've made some amazing friends too. So,
right. So it kind of gives you these social opportunities as well when you put yourself out there, it sounds like. What are some things that you enjoy doing now?
say I like going to the movies. I like going to the bookstore and the library, and I enjoy walking in the community.
Wonderful. Any favorite books?
There's a lot.
Probably a lot.
Yeah, I can't name a few at the moment.
Jake, how many books have you read this year so far?
Books I read this year, maybe about 16. My goal is to read maybe about around 80. So I'm getting there.
This year, 2024, you've already read 16 books?
16.
16. That's still, that's 15 more than I've read this year.
Hey, okay, reading. I love reading. So,
Karen, he's reading the books, like he's not reading comic books. These are big, thick books, the ones that I wouldn't tackle myself.
Right. And again, that speaks to, the fact that we can learn so much from each other. I mean, there's so much that we can gain from books, all different types of books that we read. And so I know that Jake was talking about, his interests, and sounds like he's had a number of different experiences, and you've taken an active role in advocating for him. But he has, used the skills and the opportunities that you've given him by, through the school system. I know that, Jake, you also attended college near Bakersfield, and I'm sure that there are lessons there that you've learned as well. I mean, you've learned things, again, in California, at Village Glen. It sounds like in all of these different activities you've participated in. What about your college experience?
So the college, it was called Taft College. The program was called TIL, Transition to Independent Living. I learned everything from laundry, how to budget your money, how to get along with like your housemates and your friends. I had a couple internships there, as you mentioned earlier. It was an amazing school. I miss it. I think about it every now and then. So.
Right. And Barry, for parents and caregivers who are kind of just starting their journey with, an autistic child on the spectrum, sometimes it's hard to see into the future. And you've been there you talked about, bringing Jake to California at age 2. Now, Jake, you're 30, 31?
I'll be 31 in August, yes.
31 in August. Any thoughts about other parents who are going through this journey? Any advice? And you talked about documenting everything.
Sure, Karen. And that's a great question as well. I think it's incredibly important to network in the community, whether it's through friends of Jake's, their parents, or through making calls and visiting potential housing facilities or schools or what have you. The more you're talking to people and the more you're asking them questions, things can come up that you had no idea existed. I mean, I think Jake's mom, my wife, was instrumental in the earlier years and did everything with Jake and advocated for him and did such a job that he's, that's why he is where he is today. But there's always new services coming up. In other words, or for example, we attended one of Jake's basketball tournaments recently. We were talking with a cousin of one of the players, and she had mentioned something about a self-determination program in California. We had never heard of it. It's an opportunity to invest the funds given to you the way that you want to, as opposed to having other people have control of the funds. And this is an opportunity potentially for Jake to maybe hire a personal trainer or a nutritionist or a facilitator to start a book club for other people on the spectrum. So there's so much you could do. But the idea of networking, I think that's one of my 2 or 3 big ones that I suggest for parents. Really ask a lot of questions. Don't be shy. Have coffees with parents of other kids, your kids' ages, and just go out there and beat the bushes down, because there's always something that you don't know or some program that you're not aware of.
Right. And I think when we started the conversation, you said there's some things you wish you had known, 28 years ago. What are some of those things that you wish you had known earlier, and what would you have done differently?
I wish that I was more aggressive at an earlier age on pushing for services and programs for Jake. In most programs, the resources are limited, and you have to actually be very aggressive for your piece of the pie. And it's impossible to get services, and especially difficult services, if you're not being aggressive. If you actually have to make noise, Karen. It's funny. You want to be respectful. You want to be professional. But sometimes you just have to make some noise in order to get people's attention. And if a regional supervisor has 120 clients and you're one of those clients and they have 3 minutes a month for you, you want 6 minutes a month or 9 minutes a month or whatever it takes to get what your child needs.
And so many families say that, right? And there's no manual in terms of advocacy, in terms of advocating for your child, whether your child is autistic or has learning difference or has mental health challenges. It sounds like a lot of parents feel like they have to navigate the systems on their own, but you were able to do it, both of you.
Yeah, we are fortunate that we're a 2-parent family, and that makes a big difference because, as I'd mentioned, Karen, my wife, who's a full-time nurse, she took on the advocacy role while Jake was growing up, and in recent years, I've taken over since I worked from home. But yeah, it's crucially important to be aggressive. Again, there's a difference between being unprofessional and being loud, but there are limited resources, and you have to go after them. There's no way around it. And if it's overwhelming, you just got to split it up into pieces and go after one piece at a time. And it typically has been overwhelming in the past because Jake's kind of a hard one to read. He's an onion that needs lots of peeling to get to the inner layer. And we've had to push quite a bit. Now, most parents or caregivers have to push, but that's a big one. And I wish that I pushed harder, or we pushed harder at an earlier age.
And I think that will help a lot of people, because sometimes people listening, parents listening, might think that, a lot of parents will say that I'm waiting for someone to call me back. I'm waiting to hear back from this program. And it sounds like you have to be really that squeaky wheel. You have to, continue and be persistent and follow up and look for different opportunities to get support and to connect with a community that is inclusive.
That's right, Karen. And the aggressiveness and the documentation and being able to have the ammunition in front of you is equally important. The aggressiveness is great, but without the documentation and without the game plan and saying, yeah, I did call 7 times last month and I talked to this person on this day and that person on that day, and I was promised to call back in 3 days. It goes hand in hand, but aggressiveness and advocating for your loved one is crucial.
Right. And doing your research. Like you were saying, it sounded like it started when Jake was very young, coming to California, seeing the resources that were available here. And then even Jake, you might, in terms of choosing internships, how did you choose what internships that you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, that's a good one. We had a paper filled out for one of the classes in freshman year at that college. They said, "Oh, we have a paper for you. You can pick. We're not going to pick your job for you, but you have to say you want to make pizzas. I work at Domino's. I have a pizza maker, but I wanted to clean. There's one called City of Taft, which is like the buses, the trains, not the trains, sorry, buses, vans, and other ones. So I did that. So I got to pick my jobs, and then you say you pick you number 1 through 3, 1 through 4, and for the third year, it was a graduate program called TIPSID. I stayed another year. I worked at an oil company called California Resources. They moved, unfortunately, but I answered phones, I made copies, and that was actually one of my favorite jobs from school, and I loved it.
And it sounds like, Jake, you've had a number of different kinds of experiences, which help you to kind of figure out, what do you enjoy? What would you like to do more of? And that's really important for all of us to kind of explore different things that we enjoy and then kind of say, I really enjoyed this experience. I'd like to do more of that. Are there opportunities for me in that area in the future?
That's true.
And so what's next for you, Jake? What are you doing now? And what are your plans for the future?
So currently I'm not working. Unfortunately, I worked at a mobile home park as a porter, which is like cleaning up trash, helping you make nice. The park was sold, unfortunately, so I'm out of a job. If anybody's listening, please let me know. I'd be happy to do anything for you. I'm actually volunteering at the moment, currently at a hospital about 30 minutes away from where I live, and I'm looking to volunteer at this day program for people who are lower functioning of autism, helping them out, being like a big brother type and helping them around too. Going to outings with that. So.
Wonderful. And Barry, so what are you doing now? It sounds like you were doing a lot of work in advocacy. Are you going to continue to do that work? Because it sounds like, you've learned a lot through your journey, and parents are always looking to see who can they learn from. And it sounds like your lived experience, Jake, can be helpful to so many parents who are trying to navigate this journey themselves, and they might be right at the beginning.
Sure. Well, Jake's mom and I have take turns or shared the advocacy for Jake's growth over the years, and it's kind of like a part-time thing for me. Plus, just like his mom, I love spending time with Jake because he's just a lot of fun, and he's hilarious, and he's good-natured, and he's always looking to do things around the house. So I got to give you a little tip, Karen. I don't want him to leave, even though it's in his best interest. If we could have him here all the time, that'd be great. But I'm also in the film industry as my career job, and I'm in the ratings business for both films and streaming channels.
And it sounds like, again, all of your experiences that you've had together really kind of have lined up and allowed you to get to where you are right now. And the journey's not over. And I know that when we spoke initially, Barry, you're saying that, Jake, exceeded your expectations. And so many times parents will say, I've gone into my doctor's office and they've said, these are the things that you should expect. And, I always tell parents, you never know. You don't know what your child will be capable of. No test will tell you what the absolute future of your child will be. What are your thoughts on that?
I say you put no barriers of expectations. Absolutely. When Jake was younger and there would be a truck door slammed from a quarter of a mile away, Jake was so distracted by it and disturbed by it, and it went away. It went away at some point, and that's something we thought he always have. He very rarely made eye contact when he was younger, and now he could teach me and many others how to make good eye contact while also looking away and not staring. So he just continues to surprise and make us proud. And everybody has that capability. It may be on a different level, but and I've seen Jake's friends and they've all done well, but it usually helps when they have somebody really advocating and pushing and and taking that extra step to get what they need for their child.
Right. And I think, part of this conversation is really helping people to understand that we all have different perspectives. We all have our own unique journey in life. And we have a lot that we can learn from each other. I mean, Barry, you're saying that, that you learned a lot from Jake. You gave the example of the Special Olympics and our attitudes towards, not losing a game, that, the experience of in and of itself was something that had an impact and was enjoyable. And sometimes we need to lean into those experiences and not focus so much on the outcome. Are there other things that you've learned from each other during this journey?
Oh, Jake's getting awfully quiet on that one, Karen.
I got to think for a second.
Maybe I can answer while Jake thinks about it.
Okay, no problem.
One of the things, like when we talk about going on the journey, I had mentioned to you, I think, or I'd written to you about the Welcome to Holland poem. But one of the things about the journey is we're always looking for the end result. We want our child to get from A to B, and once they're at B, we're going to be happy. But what about all those little steps to go from A to B? We have to grasp those and take those as little victories. And even if it doesn't reach point B, if you're getting 8/10 of the way there or 2/10 of the way there, it doesn't matter. You're still making progress, and you still have to take you have to take just great pride and feel good about anything that moves your child forward.
Great. And maybe before we jump in, Jake, I know that there's a lot of things that you've learned as well. The Welcome to Holland.
Yes.
Can you share that? Because I remember us having a discussion about it, and I would love for you to share that with our listeners, because I just think it just made a big impact on me, and I know it made a big impact on you as well.
It did, Karen. So this is a poem that my wife picked out. We were the commencement speeches at Jake's college graduation, and there really wasn't a dry eye in the house. And it was really happy tears. And it's just about a different journey. The poem is called Welcome to Holland by Emily Pearl Kingsley. Would you like me to read it?
Absolutely.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, if I tear up a little bit, that's because this is a tearjerker one that I'm sure others can relate. I am often asked to describe the experience of raising a child with extra challenges, to try to help people who have not shared that unique experience to understand it, to imagine how it would feel. It's like this. When you're going to have a baby, it's like planning a fabulous vacation trip to Italy. You buy a bunch of guidebooks and you make your wonderful plans. The Colosseum, the Michelangelo David, the gondolas in Venice. You may learn some handy phrases in Italian. It's all very exciting. After months of eager anticipation, the day finally arrives. You pack your bags and off you go. Several hours later, the plane lands. The stewardess comes in and says, "Welcome to Holland." Holland, I say. What do you mean Holland? I signed up for Italy. I'm supposed to be in Italy. All my life, I've dreamed of going to Italy. But there's been a change in the flight plan. They've landed in Holland, and there you must stay. The important thing is that they haven't taken you to a horrible, disgusting, filthy place full of pestilence, famine, and disease. It's just a different place. So you must go out and buy new guidebooks, and you must learn a whole new language, and you will meet a whole new group of people you would never have met. It's just a different place. It's slower paced than Italy, less flashy than Italy, but after you've been there for a while and you catch your breath, you look around and you begin to notice that Holland has windmills. It has tulips. Holland even has Rembrandts. But everyone you know is busy coming and going from Italy, and they're all bragging about what a wonderful time they had there. And for the rest of your life, you will say, yes, that's where I was supposed to go. That's what I had planned. And the pain of that will never, ever, ever go away, because the loss of that dream is a very significant loss. But if you spend your life mourning the fact that you didn't get to Italy, you may never be free to enjoy the very special, the very lovely things about Holland.
It's beautiful. And how did that change for you? How does that resonate with you?
It's enjoying the journey and not looking always at the end result. And we have to get to here, or we have to get to there. what about where we are right now and maybe where we'll be tomorrow as opposed to what's going to happen in 5 and 10 and 20 years? Because Holland to me is like Jake. Jake has been a complete blessing to us. I mean, we wouldn't want anybody else as our son. And he gives us wonderful days every single day.
Thanks, I try. I try.
And, had you gone to Italy, you would have missed out on the beauty of Holland.
Very true. I agree.
Jake, any parting words for individuals who are navigating their own journey, who may feel frustrated, maybe they're stuck in Italy and they can navigate better in Holland?
Just take it day by day. It'll all work out. Just take some breaths. I got this. I'm worth it.
Absolutely. And it's so wonderful to have you both here sharing your story and sharing the special bond that you both have and how important that bond is and that family support is. Again, navigating this unique journey, the journey that is yours and a journey that is similar to the journeys that other people are on as well. Jake and Bear, I can't thank you enough for sharing your story, your experiences, your insights with us today, because I think that your journey, while it's unique, it will help other people who are kind of trying to navigate a similar journey. And what it does, it also celebrates the beauty of neurodiversity. And so thank you for, again, all that you bring to the table, all that you've shared in this conversation, and for helping us create a more inclusive world. I appreciate you both.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Thanks for letting us share, Karen. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed today's conversation. And if you'd like to connect with Barry and Jake, be sure to check out the show notes. There you will find their contact information. And if you would like to stay connected with us, be sure to go to childnexus.com and get on our email list. We would love to have you in our community. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Diverse Thinking, Different Learning by Child Nexus. For more resources, visit us online at childnexus.com.